I knocked on a stranger's door in a wedding dress. The man who answered looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. The afternoon sun burned my bare shoulders. It was August in Charleston, and the heat was brutal, the kind that makes your clothes stick to your skin and turns breathing into work. Sweat mixed with tears. My feet were bleeding from running barefoot on hot pavement. I left small red marks on his white stone steps. 3 hours ago, I was supposed to marry a man I didn't love. 2 hours ago, I found out he was dangerous. 1 hour ago, I ran. Now I stood on the doorstep of a huge house I'd picked carefully, not randomly, though I'd tell myself it was random for weeks. My wedding flowers were dying in my shaking hands. My makeup was probably running down my face. I was about to beg a complete stranger to save me. The door opened. The man standing there looked like he'd walked out of a movie about dangerous men. Dark hair with some gray at the sides. Strong jaw with stubble. Eyes like storm clouds, gray and blue mixed together, the kind that see everything and tell nothing. He wore all black, black pants, black shirt with the sleeves rolled up, expensive watch. Behind him, the house was cool and dark. He stared at me. I stared back. "Please," I said. My voice cracked. "Please, I need help." His eyes moved from my face to my dress to the flowers to my bare, bleeding feet, then back to my face. His face didn't change, but something moved in those storm eyes. Understanding, maybe. Or just another weird day. "Who are you running from?" he asked. His voice was deep and calm. The kind of calm that comes from a man who's seen worse things than a bride showing up at his door. "My fiancé." I was shaking so hard the flower petals were falling off, landing on his doorstep like confetti. I was supposed to marry him today, but I can't. I won't. I ran, and I don't have my phone or my purse or anywhere to go, and I just need. He held up his hand. "Stop. What's your fiancé's name?" "David Castellano." Something changed in the man's face. Just a little. A flash of recognition, of understanding, of something darker. "Come inside," he said. I hesitated. Walking into a stranger's house when you're already running from one dangerous man seemed like a really bad idea. But something about the way he'd said David's name, not surprised but knowing. Like he understood exactly what I was running from. Also, I had nowhere else to go. I stepped inside. The house was beautiful. Dark wood and expensive furniture and the kind of quiet that comes with real money. But it wasn't cold. There were kids' drawings stuck to a huge silver fridge I could see through a doorway. Toys scattered near the stairs. The mess of a house where people actually lived. The man closed the door. Locked it. Then turned to look at me. "My name is Gabriel Torres," he said. "Before we go any further, you need to know something. David Castellano and I are business enemies. If you're here because you think I'll use you against him, you're right. If you're here because you need real help, that might also be right. But you should know, I'm not doing this just to be nice." I blinked. Nobody talked like that. Nobody was that honest. "I don't care why you're helping," I said. "I just need somewhere safe to figure out what to do next." He studied me for a long moment. Then nodded. "Fair enough. What's your name?" "Isabel. Isabel Preston." "The Garden District Prestons?" I nodded. "My father was Thomas Preston. He died a year and a half ago." "I know who your father was." Gabriel pointed toward the living room. "Sit. You look like you're about to fall over." He was right. My legs were shaking. My lungs hurt. The energy that had carried me through running and knocking and standing here was draining away, leaving me so tired I could barely think. I collapsed onto a leather couch and tried not to get blood on it. Gabriel disappeared through a doorway and came back with a first aid kit and a glass of water. He handed me the water first. "Drink." I did what he said. The water was cold and perfect. I hadn't realized how thirsty I was until I finished the whole glass. He knelt down in front of me and opened the first aid kit. "This is going to hurt," he warned. "Your feet are bleeding. Unless you want an infection, let me clean them." I looked down at my feet, raw and red, small cuts bleeding onto his expensive rug. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm getting blood on your floor." "The floor will be fine." He pulled out some wipes. Hold still. I watched this stranger, this man with a name that sounded like someone you didn't mess with, this man who'd admitted he had his own reasons for helping me, gently clean the cuts on my feet. His hands were surprisingly careful, like he was used to taking care of people. Why did you run? He asked, not looking up from his work. This morning, before the wedding, I saw David in the parking lot behind the church. He was yelling at one of the catering people. A young woman, maybe 19. She dropped a tray of champagne glasses. Gabriel's hands stopped moving for just a second. He grabbed her, I continued. My voice was barely above a whisper. By the throat. Pushed her against the wall. And the look on his face, I'd never seen him like that. He was going to hurt her. Really hurt her. One of the other workers stopped him, and David let her go, but the look in his eyes. You saw who he really was, Gabriel said quietly. Yes. I was crying now, quiet tears dripping onto my ruined dress. And I realized, that would be me. Eventually. Once the wedding was over and he didn't have to pretend anymore. That would be me. Gabriel finished bandaging my feet and sat back on his heels, looking at me with those storm cloud eyes that seemed to see too much. David Castellano is a dangerous man, he said. I know him. We've done business together. He doesn't take it well when people embarrass him. And running from him at your wedding, that's the kind of embarrassment he won't forgive. My stomach twisted. I know. That's why I can't go back. Can't go home. My mother will just give me back to him. Do you have friends? Family? Anyone who could help? I shook my head. My father's death isolated us. Most of our friends left when the money did. And the ones who stayed, they're all at that wedding right now. They'll tell David where I went. So you have nowhere to go, Gabriel said. No money, no phone, no plan. When he said it like that, it sounded even worse than it felt. No, I admitted. I have nothing. Silence stretched between us. Somewhere deeper in the house, I heard a door close. A child's voice calling out something I couldn't understand. Then Gabriel said something I didn't expect. I need a nanny. I blinked. What? My kid's nanny quit yesterday. Family emergency. Left me with no warning and an important business meeting tonight that I can't miss. He stood up and helped me to my feet, surprisingly gentle. I have twins. Emma and Matthew. They're 5 years old. They don't trust people easily. They've been through, he stopped, choosing his words carefully. They've had a hard year. Their mother left. Every nanny I've hired has quit within a few weeks because they can't handle how my kids won't let anyone get close to them. I don't have any experience, I said. I've never taken care of children. But you're interesting, Gabriel said. You're something new, something different. A woman in a wedding dress who showed up at our door, running from a monster. That's compelling. He paused. Here's what I'm offering. A deal. You stay here. You take care of my kids. In exchange, I give you a place to hide from David Castellano. I give you safety, protection, and time to figure out your next move. Why would you do that? Because I need help, he said simply. And because David Castellano is my business rival. He's been trying to take over my shipping and logistics business for a year and a half. Keeping you away from him, that's not charity. That's strategy. There it was. The real reason. Not kindness. Strategy. But I was desperate enough not to care about his reasons. How long? I asked. 1 month, he said. That gives you 30 days to figure out what you want to do. Whether you want to go back to your family, find another way out, or, he paused. Whatever else you might decide. During that month, you live here. You take care of Emma and Matthew. You earn your keep. After the month, we either make a new agreement or you leave. Your choice. I thought about David's face in that parking lot. The rage. The violence barely controlled under his expensive suit and practiced smile. I thought about my mother, who'd arranged this marriage to pay off my father's debts. Who'd looked at me 2 weeks ago and said, "Sometimes we have to sacrifice for family, Isabel." I thought about having nowhere else to go. Okay, I said. 1 month. I'll stay. Gabriel held out his hand. We have a deal. I shook it. His grip was firm, warm, the handshake of a man who kept his word. But just so we're clear, he added, his voice getting lower, if David comes looking for you, I'll handle it. But you need to trust me completely. That means no sneaking out, no calling your family, no doing anything that could lead him here. Understood. Understood. Good. He let go of my hand. Let me show you to your room. You need to change. He led me up a curved staircase, down a hallway lined with family photos. I saw pictures of 2 small kids, dark-haired, serious-faced. No photos of a woman. The guest room was bigger than my whole bedroom at my mother's house. Floor-to-ceiling windows looking out at a garden. A huge bed with sheets that probably cost more than my car used to. A bathroom attached with a big tub and one of those rain showers. But what surprised me most was how comfortable it felt. There were fresh flowers on the dresser, white gardenias in a crystal vase. Books on the nightstand. Soft blankets on a reading chair by the window. This wasn't a cold guest room. This was a space made to make people feel at home. Gabriel showed up in the doorway holding a stack of clothes. These belong to my ex-wife, he said, his voice carefully neutral. She left most of her things when she moved out. You're about the same size. Take whatever you need. I took the clothes, trying not to think about wearing another woman's abandoned wardrobe. Thank you. Bathroom's through there. He pointed. Take your time. The kids and I will be downstairs. Come down when you're ready. He started to leave, then stopped. Isabel. Yes. That meeting I mentioned, the one I can't miss. It's tonight, 7 p.m. I'll be gone about 3 hours. Can you handle putting the kids to bed? I've never put kids to bed before, I admitted. Then Emma and Matthew will teach you. They're very particular about their bedtime. He almost smiled. Fair warning, they'll try to get you to let them stay up late and read extra stories. Don't give in. Got it. He left and closed the door behind him. I stood there for a moment, holding a stranger's clothes in a stranger's house, having just agreed to take care of a stranger's kids for a month to hide from a man who probably wanted to kill me for embarrassing him. What was I doing? I looked down at my wedding dress, the beautiful, expensive dress my mother had picked out. The dress I was supposed to wear while promising to love a man I discovered was a monster. I pulled it off with shaking hands and left it in a pile on the floor like dead skin. Then I stood in the bathroom in my strapless bra and white lace underwear, and I cried. Not pretty crying. Ugly, gasping, scared crying. The kind that comes when the adrenaline finally wears off and reality crashes in. I'd run away from my wedding. My mother was probably losing her mind. David was probably looking for me. My family's reputation was destroyed. And I was hiding in the house of a man I'd met an hour ago, about to wear his ex-wife's yoga pants and oversized t-shirt, about to pretend I knew how to take care of 2 5-year-olds. I washed my face, pulled my hair into a messy bun, tried to look like someone who had their life together instead of someone whose life had just exploded. When I came downstairs, I found Gabriel in the kitchen making sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly, cut into triangles with the crusts cut off, done with the kind of precision that comes from doing something 1,000 times. They don't eat crusts, he said without looking up. And the jelly has to be spread evenly. If there's more jelly on one side, Matthew will notice and won't eat it. Got it. I watched him work. Careful. Precise. A man who paid attention to details. You're very particular, I said. I'm a father, he said. Being particular comes with the job. Emma and Matthew were in the living room playing with building blocks. Actually, Emma was building something complicated while Matthew knocked it down and she yelled at him. It was the most normal brother-sister thing I'd ever seen. Do they always fight like that? I asked. Only when they're comfortable, Gabriel said. When they're nervous, they're perfectly behaved. The fighting I actually like. It means they feel safe. That was, actually really sweet. He finished the sandwiches and put them on plates with apple slices and carrot sticks. Their mother leaving, he said quietly, not looking at me. That hurt them. I'm trying to fix it. How long has she been gone? 13 months. The divorce was final 7 months ago, but she moved out last Christmas. Told them Santa wasn't real and that Mommy didn't want to live with them anymore. Then she left. Jesus, I whispered. Yeah. He carried the plates to the living room. Kids, lunch. They came running. Two small bodies with dark hair and Gabriel's storm cloud eyes. They climbed onto the couch, took their sandwiches like they'd done this a million times, and then stopped. Stared at me. Emma spoke first. Who are you? This is Isabel, Gabriel said. She's going to be staying with us for a while. Why? Matthew asked. He was more direct than his sister. Because she needs help, Gabriel said simply. And we have extra room. So we're going to help her. Emma's eyes got narrow. What kind of help? The kind where we're nice to her and make her feel welcome, Gabriel said firmly. Both of you. They turned back to their sandwiches, but I could feel them watching me, deciding whether I was a threat or something interesting. I sat down in the chair across from them, suddenly exhausted. Why are you wearing Mommy's clothes? Emma asked. Gabriel tensed. Because I didn't have any clothes with me, I said honestly. And your dad was kind enough to let me borrow some. Where are your clothes? Matthew asked. I left them behind when I came here. Why? Because I was in a hurry. Why were you in a hurry? Matthew, Gabriel warned. That's enough questions. But I said, it's okay. I looked at the little boy with the serious face and the storm cloud eyes. I was in a hurry because I needed to get away from somewhere I didn't want to be. Like school? He asked. Sort of, I said. Except more important than school. Emma was watching me with smart eyes. Were you scared? Yes, I said. Very scared. Daddy says it's okay to be scared, she said. He says being brave means being scared but doing the hard thing anyway. I looked at Gabriel. He was watching his daughter with a face that showed both pain and pride. Your dad is very wise, I said. We ate lunch together. Gabriel asked them about their morning, what they'd played, what they'd watched, what they wanted to do that afternoon. They answered in bits and pieces, still watching me, still deciding. After lunch, Gabriel went to his office to get ready for his meeting, which left me alone with Emma and Matthew for the first time. They stared at me. I stared back. So, I said, what do you guys usually do after lunch? Play, Emma said. What kind of play? Whatever we want, Matthew said. But the nannies usually say no. Why would they say no? Because we want to play things they think are too messy or too loud or too dangerous, Emma explained. But they're not really dangerous. Adults just worry too much. I smiled. You know what? I think adults do worry too much. What do you want to play? Their faces changed. Suspicion melted into careful hope. Really? Matthew asked. You'll play what we want? Within reason, I said. No fire. No climbing on the roof. No bringing home stray animals without asking your dad first. Those are good rules, Emma decided. For the next 3 hours, I played with 2 5-year-olds who tested me in small ways. They asked me to play hide and seek and hid in places that were just barely too hard to find. They wanted to paint and accidentally got paint on my borrowed shirt. They built block towers and knocked them down right next to me, watching to see if I'd get angry. I didn't get angry. I played along. I found their hiding spots eventually. I laughed about the paint. I helped them build bigger towers just to knock them down louder. By the time Gabriel came to find us, I was exhausted, covered in paint and glitter, and laughing harder than I'd laughed in months. He stood in the doorway of the playroom, watching us. I'd built a tower of blocks while Matthew counted down from 10. When he reached one, I dramatically knocked it over while making explosion sounds. Emma and Matthew fell apart laughing. Looks like you're surviving, Gabriel said. Surviving. I was out of breath and happy. I'm winning. Don't let them fool you, he said. This is the easy part. Tomorrow, they'll really test you. We're not that bad, Emma protested. You made the last nanny cry, Gabriel reminded her. She called my painting ugly, Emma said. It was beautiful. It was very beautiful, Matthew added loyally. Gabriel sighed. Anyway, I need to leave for my meeting in 20 minutes. Bedtime is at 7:30. Bath first, then pajamas, then one story each, then lights out. They know the routine. They'll try to convince you it's different. Don't believe them. Got it, I said. And Isabel? He looked at me seriously. Thank you. For today. For staying. For, he gestured at the playroom mess. This. You're welcome. After he left, Emma turned to me with a sneaky smile. We're totally going to try to stay up late. I know, I said. And I'm totally not going to let you. Worth a try, Matthew said like a little philosopher. Bath time was an adventure. They showed me where everything was kept, which toys were okay for the bath, dinosaurs yes, stuffed animals no, and exactly how warm the water needed to be, warm but not hot. Emma wanted bubbles. Matthew wanted to practice holding his breath underwater. I watched them play, and somewhere in the middle of making sure no one drowned, I realized something. I hadn't thought about David once in the past 4 hours. Hadn't thought about my mother's disappointment. Hadn't thought about the destroyed wedding or the gossip or the disaster my life had become. I'd just been present. After baths came pajamas. Emma's had unicorns. Matthew's had dinosaurs. They each got to pick a story. Emma chose a princess book. Matthew chose one about dragons. I read them both, doing voices for all the characters, which made them giggle. When I finished, I stood up to turn off the light. Wait, Emma said. Can you sing us a song? I don't really sing, I said. Please, Matthew added. Our mom never sang to us, but we heard that moms are supposed to. My heart broke a little. Okay, I said. One song. I sat on the edge of Emma's bed. They were in twin beds on opposite sides of the room, positioned so they could see each other. I sang the only lullaby I knew, the one my father used to sing to me when I was little. Before everything fell apart. Before he got sick. Before he died and left us drowning in debt. My voice cracked in places. I forgot some of the words. But Emma and Matthew didn't care. They just watched me with sleepy eyes and small smiles. When I finished, Matthew whispered, "That was nice." "Thank you for staying," Emma added. "You're welcome," I said. "Both of you." I kissed their foreheads, turned off the light, left the door open a crack like Gabriel had told me to. Then I went downstairs and collapsed on the couch, emotionally exhausted but strangely happy. Gabriel came home at 10 p.m. and found me still on the couch, wearing his ex-wife's clothes, half asleep. "They go down okay?" he asked. "Eventually," I said. They tried to get me to read 3 extra stories and let them stay up later. I stuck with one story each. Good. He sat down on the other end of the couch and loosened his tie. "How are you doing? Really? Honestly?" I laughed. "I have no idea. This morning I was supposed to get married. Tonight I'm a nanny for 2 kids I met 6 hours ago. Nothing about this makes sense." "No," he agreed. "It doesn't. But I searched for the word. Safer than I did this morning. So thank you for that." "Don't thank me yet," he said. "Tomorrow's going to be harder." "Why?" "Because David Castellano is going to be looking for you. And when he doesn't find you at your mother's house or with your friends, he's going to get desperate. Desperate men do dangerous things." The weight of that settled over me. "Get some sleep," Gabriel said. "Emma and Matthew wake up at 6 a.m. like clockwork. You'll need your energy." He started to leave, then turned back. "One more thing." "Yes. They really do like you." His face softened. "I haven't seen them that relaxed with anyone since Rachel left. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it." "I'm just being myself," I said. "Then keep being yourself," he said. "It's working." The first week was harder than I expected. Not because Emma and Matthew were difficult, though they definitely tested me like Gabriel had warned, but because living in someone else's house, wearing someone else's clothes, taking care of someone else's kids while hiding from a man who wanted to destroy me was exhausting in ways I hadn't imagined. Day 3 was when the real testing started. I woke up at 6 a.m. to find Emma standing next to my bed, holding a pair of scissors and a doll with half its hair cut off. "I did a bad thing," she announced. I sat up, trying to understand what I was seeing through sleepy eyes. "Did you cut your doll's hair?" "Yes. And I'm supposed to tell the truth when I do bad things. So I'm telling you." She paused. "Are you going to yell at me like the other nannies?" I looked at her serious little face, at the doll with its crooked haircut, at the scissors she was holding out to me like evidence. "No," I said. "I'm not going to yell. But I am curious, why did you cut her hair?" "Because she wanted a new look." Emma's logic made perfect sense to her. "And also because I wanted to see if you'd get mad." "Ah. So this was a test." "Well, I'm not mad," I said. "But let's make a rule. Scissors are only for paper and Play-Doh, not for hair. Even doll hair. Deal?" She thought about it. "Deal." She climbed onto my bed and cuddled against my side. "You're different from the other nannies." "How so?" "You didn't yell. You didn't tell Daddy. You just," she struggled for the word, "talk to me like I'm a person." "You are a person," I said. "A small person, but still a person." She smiled and moved closer. "I like you, Miss Isabel." "I like you too, Emma." Day 5 was Matthew's turn to test me. He refused to eat breakfast. Just sat at the table with his arms crossed, staring at his pancakes like they'd done something wrong. "Not hungry, buddy?" I asked. "They're wrong," he said. "Wrong how?" "Just wrong." Gabriel had already left for an early meeting, which meant I was on my own. I sat down next to Matthew. "Can you tell me what would make them right?" He looked at me suspiciously. "You're not going to make me eat them?" "Nope. But I am curious what kind of pancakes you actually like." He thought about it. "Daddy makes them in shapes. Like dinosaurs. These are just circles." "Ah." I stood up. "Come on. Where are we going?" "To make dinosaur pancakes." His face lit up. "Really? Really?" We spent the next 30 minutes making the ugliest dinosaur pancakes in the history of breakfast. They were lumpy and weird-shaped and absolutely perfect. Matthew ate every bite. That afternoon, Gabriel came home early and found me in the garden with both kids, all of us covered in dirt because we decided to plant flowers. "You're filthy," he said. "We're gardening," Emma corrected. "Miss Isabel says flowers make people happy." "They do," I confirmed. "Plus, your garden needed some color." Gabriel looked at the row of slightly crooked flowers we'd planted, at his kids' dirt-covered faces, at me kneeling in the grass in his ex-wife's old jeans with dirt under my fingernails. Something changed in his face. Something I couldn't quite read. "Go get cleaned up," he told the kids. "All of you." After baths and dinner, Gabriel found me in the kitchen washing dishes. "You're good with them," he said. "I'm just paying attention," I said. "Kids aren't that complicated. They just want to be heard." Most adults don't get that. Maybe most adults aren't listening. He leaned against the counter and watched me rinse plates. "You know, when I made this deal with you, I thought you'd last maybe a week. Most nannies quit by day 4. What makes you think I'm not about to quit?" "Because my kids talk about you like you're magic." He paused. "Emma told me this morning that you're the best nanny we've ever had. And we've had 11 nannies in the past year." 11. "They're particular." "They're hurting," I said gently. "There's a difference." Gabriel's jaw tightened. "You're right. They are. And I'm trying to fix that, but it's hard when everyone keeps leaving." "I'm not leaving," I said. "Not for another 3 weeks anyway. We had a deal." He pulled out his phone and showed me a news article. My stomach dropped. The article was about my wedding, or rather, about the scandal of a runaway bride from a wealthy Charleston family. There were photos of the church, of my mother looking devastated, of David looking stone-faced and furious. "Preston bride vanishes," the headline screamed. "Family in crisis after wedding day disappearance." "Oh God," I whispered. "It gets worse," Gabriel said. He scrolled to another article. David Castellano offers $50,000 reward for information leading to Isabel Preston. $50,000. For information about me. He's telling people you heard private business information, Gabriel said, his jaw tight. Claims you're a risk to his company. It's a lie obviously, but it gives him a good reason for the reward. Makes him look like a victim instead of what he really is, a controlling man who lost his prize. What do I do? I asked. You stay here. You stay hidden. And you let me handle it if he comes looking. What if he finds me? He won't. Gabriel's voice was hard. I promise you, Isabel. He won't. The certainty in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel safer than I'd felt in days. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about David, about the reward, about how many people would tell him where I was for $50,000. I went downstairs for water and found Gabriel in his office, still working. Can't sleep? He asked without looking up from his computer. No. Come in. Sit. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk. What are you working on? Tracking David's movements. He turned the computer so I could see. Security footage. Financial records. He's been to your mother's house 4 times. Your old apartment twice. He's talked to your friends, your old coworkers, everyone. My hands shook. He's obsessed. He's embarrassed. And for men like David, embarrassment is worse than anything. He paused. I need you to understand something, Isabel. David Castellano isn't just controlling. He's dangerous. He has connections to people who do very bad things for money. You mean organized crime? Gabriel met my eyes. I mean people worse than traditional organized crime. Private contractors. Mercenaries. People who solve problems permanently. And you? I asked quietly. What are you? A businessman, he said, who sometimes has to do business with people who work outside the law. But I'm not like David. I don't hurt innocent people. How do I know that? Because you're sitting here safe after running away from a wedding and showing up at my door. If I were like David, I would have given you back to him the moment I knew who you were. He leaned back in his chair. I'm not a good man, Isabel. I've done things I'm not proud of. But I protect the people under my roof. Always. Why? Because someone has to. He closed his computer. Now go to sleep. The kids will be up in 6 hours, and they're exhausting. I stood up but hesitated. Thank you, Gabriel. For protecting me. For letting me stay. You're earning your keep, he said. Don't make it more than it is. But it felt like more. It felt like something changing between us, something neither of us was ready to name. Day 7 was when David made his move. I was in the backyard with Emma and Matthew, pushing them on the swing set, when Gabriel's phone rang. He answered and listened. His face went cold. Get the kids inside, he told me. Now. What's wrong? Inside. Now. The tone of his voice left no room for questions. I grabbed Emma and Matthew, who complained loudly about leaving the swings, and hurried them into the house. Gabriel was already on another call, speaking in fast Spanish, giving orders. When he hung up, he turned to me. David knows you're in the city. He's been checking security cameras from the afternoon you ran. He's got people looking at every house within a 10-block radius of the church. Does he know I'm here? Not yet. But he will if we're not careful. He pulled out his keys. I'm having my security team check the whole property, triple-check all the locks. No one goes outside until I say it's safe. For how long? As long as it takes. That night, with extra security around the property and every door and window locked, Gabriel sat the kids down for a serious talk. Emma, Matthew, he said gently. We're going to have some new rules for a little while. What kind of rules? Emma asked. No playing in the front yard. No answering the door if someone knocks. And if anyone asks you questions about Miss Isabel, you don't know anything. Understand? Matthew's eyes went wide. Is someone trying to hurt Miss Isabel? I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen, Gabriel said firmly. But I need you both to follow the rules. Can you do that for me? They nodded seriously. After they went to bed, I found Gabriel standing at the window, watching the street. I should leave, I said. I'm putting your family in danger. You're not leaving. But Gabriel. He turned to face me. I made you a promise. 30 days of protection. We're only on day 7. I don't break my promises. Even when it's dangerous. Especially when it's dangerous. I stepped closer. Why are you doing this? Really? It can't just be about strategy or business. You could have helped me some other way. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, my ex-wife Rachel, she was controlling. Manipulative. By the time I realized what she was doing, how she was treating our kids, it was almost too late. I fought for custody. Won. Got her out of our lives. But it took months. And during those months, I felt powerless. Like I couldn't protect the people I loved most. He looked at me. When you showed up at my door, running from a man who wanted to control you, I saw a chance to be the person I wished someone had been for me. Someone who just helped. No questions, no conditions. Just protection. That's not nothing, I said softly. Maybe not. But it's not heroic either. It's just doing what's right. We stood there facing each other in the dim light of his living room. And for the first time, I saw him not as Gabriel Torres, the intimidating businessman with questionable connections, but as a father who'd been hurt and was trying to keep anyone else from being hurt the same way. Thank you, I whispered. Stop thanking me. I can't. He smiled, barely. Just a hint of warmth in those storm cloud eyes. Then stop running from weddings and showing up at random doors. I'll do my best. That night, I lay in bed thinking about protection and promises and the strange way safety can look like a man with a dangerous reputation standing between you and the thing that wants to destroy you. And I realized something scary. I was starting to trust Gabriel Torres. Not just with my safety, but with something deeper. And that was more dangerous than David Castellano could ever be. Week 2 changed everything. The kids started calling me Miss Isabel less and just Isabel more. It felt like progress. Like I was becoming a real person to them, not just another temporary adult who'd eventually leave. Gabriel started working from home more. He said it was because of security, but I noticed he'd find excuses to come into whatever room I was in. To ask how the kids were doing. To bring me coffee in the morning without being asked. Small things. But they added up. One afternoon, while the kids napped, I found him in the kitchen making lunch. You cook? I asked, surprised. I survive, he corrected. Rachel didn't cook. Someone had to feed the kids. What are you making? Grilled cheese. My specialty, apparently. Want one? Sure. We worked in comfortable silence. Him grilling sandwiches with the same precision he brought to everything. Me cutting fruit and putting it on plates. It felt domestic. Normal. Like we were a family instead of 2 people in a temporary arrangement. Can I ask you something? I said. Always. Why did you marry Rachel if she was so controlling? Because I was young and stupid and she was very good at hiding who she really was until after the wedding. He flipped a sandwich. By the time I realized the mistake I'd made, Emma and Matthew were on the way. And I thought maybe becoming a mother would change her. Make her softer. More loving. He put the sandwiches on plates. But it didn't. It made her worse. She resented them for existing. For needing things. For taking my attention away from her. The day I caught her yelling at 6-month-old Matthew for crying, he continued quietly, that's when I knew I had to get her out of our lives. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be. He handed me a plate. Getting divorced was the best decision I ever made. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. Do the kids miss her? They miss the idea of her. The mother they deserved but never had. But they don't miss who she actually was. He took a bite of his sandwich. That's the sad part. My kids are better off without their mother. We ate in silence for a moment. Then I said, for what it's worth, you're an amazing father. He looked up sharply. What makes you say that? Because you're present. You pay attention. You put them first. You make dinosaur pancakes and read bedtime stories and actually care about their feelings. I paused. Most parents don't do half of that. Most parents aren't trying to undo the damage of a toxic ex-wife. Maybe. But most parents also don't succeed at it the way you have. Your kids are happy, Gabriel. They're thriving. That's because of you. Something in his face softened. Thank you. He cleared his throat. That means more than you know. The moment stretched between us, charged with something neither of us was ready to acknowledge. Then Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. I had a bad dream. The spell broke. Gabriel immediately went to her and picked her up. What was the dream about, baby? A monster. She buried her face in his neck. But then Miss Isabel came and made it go away. Isabel fights monsters in your dreams? Gabriel asked. Emma nodded. She's very brave. Over his daughter's head, Gabriel met my eyes. And something passed between us. Recognition. Understanding. The beginning of something that scared me. That night, after the kids were asleep and Gabriel had finished his work, I found him on the back patio. Mind if I join you? I asked. Please. I sat next to him on the outdoor couch. The Charleston night was warm and humid, the air thick with the scent of jasmine from the garden. 2 weeks, he said. You've been here 2 weeks. Has it been that long? Feels longer. In a good way. He glanced at me. The house feels different with you in it. Different how? Alive. He struggled for words. Rachel left a coldness behind. A sense that love was conditional. Transactional. But you make everything feel warm again. Safe. The kids laugh more. I'm less tense. Even the house itself seems lighter. I don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything. He turned to face me fully. But I need you to know something, Isabel. This arrangement we made, it's not just business anymore. Not for me. What is it then? He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was so tender it made my breath catch. It's becoming something I didn't expect, he said quietly. Something I'm not sure I'm ready for, but can't seem to stop. Gabriel. I'm falling for you. There. He said it. I know that's crazy. I know you're here because you're hiding from a dangerous man and this is temporary and you're probably going to leave in 2 weeks and never look back. But I needed you to know. I'm falling for you, Isabel. And I don't know what to do about it. My heart was racing. I should have been panicked. Should have pulled away. Should have reminded him this was just a deal. Instead I said, I'm falling for you too. His eyes widened. You are. I nodded. I didn't plan to. Didn't want to. But spending every day with you and your kids, seeing how you are with them, how you protect everyone around you, how you make me feel safe for the first time in years, I couldn't help it. This is complicated, he said. I know. You're still technically engaged to David. Running from a wedding doesn't end a legal engagement. I know that too. And I'm here because I had nowhere else to go, not because I chose you. That was true at first, I admitted. But now? I'm here because I want to be. Because these 2 weeks have been the happiest I've been in years. Because your kids make me laugh, and you make me feel protected, and this house feels more like home than anywhere I've lived since my father died. Gabriel closed his eyes and took a breath. When he opened them again, the storm clouds had cleared. I'm going to kiss you now, he said. If you don't want that, tell me to stop. I didn't tell him to stop. He cupped my face in his hands, leaned in, kissed me so gently it felt like a question. I answered by kissing him back. And just like that, everything changed. We pulled apart, breathless, foreheads touching, hearts racing. This complicates things, I whispered. Good, he said. I like complicated. We spent the next hour on that patio talking about things we'd never said out loud. About his marriage and my father's death and the ways we'd both been broken by people we'd trusted. About Emma and Matthew and how they'd somehow healed parts of us we didn't know were wounded. About how scary it was to fall for someone when your life was still a disaster. but also about how sometimes disaster is exactly when you find the people worth holding on to. I should go to bed, I said eventually. The kids will be up in 6 hours. Stay, he said. Just for a few more minutes. So I stayed, curled against his side, his arm around me, the Charleston night wrapping around us like a blanket. And for those few minutes, I let myself imagine a future that wasn't running or hiding or temporary. A future that looked like this. Me and Gabriel and 2 kids who decided I was worth keeping. It was the most dangerous thing I'd ever imagined, but also the most beautiful. 3 weeks into our arrangement, David found me. I was in the front yard with Emma and Matthew, against Gabriel's rules, but they'd begged to pick flowers, and the security team was there. I thought it would be fine. It wasn't fine. A black car pulled up to the curb. David stepped out. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Just stood there holding Emma's hand while my ex-fiancé walked toward me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Isabel," he said pleasantly. "There you are." The security guard moved to stop him, but David held up his hands. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to talk to my fiancé." "I'm not your fiancé," I found my voice. "I ran from that wedding, remember?" A moment of confusion. "We can work past that." His eyes flicked to the kids. "I see you've been playing house. How sweet." Matthew squeezed behind me. Emma's grip on my hand got tighter. "Leave," I said. "You're not welcome here." "I'm not leaving without you." David took another step. "Your mother is worried sick. Your family needs you. And we had a deal, Isabel. My money for your hand in marriage. A deal I never agreed to. Your mother agreed for you. That's binding." "Not legally," a voice said from behind me. Gabriel came out of the house and walked straight to my side, putting himself between me and David. "Who the hell are you?" David demanded. "Gabriel Torres. This is my property, and you're trespassing." Recognition showed on David's face. "Torres." His smile turned ugly. "So that's where she's been hiding. In the bed of my business rival." "She's been taking care of my kids," Gabriel said coldly. "Which is more useful than anything you could have offered her." "She owes me." David's composure was cracking. "Her family owes me $200,000. I was going to forgive it in exchange for marriage. That debt doesn't disappear just because she got cold feet." "Actually," Gabriel said, "it does." He pulled out his phone and showed David something. "I paid off the Preston family debt this morning. Every penny. Which means Isabel owes you nothing." I stared at him. "You did what?" "The debt is cleared," Gabriel told me. "Your mother's house is safe. Your family is financially secure. You're free." David's face turned red. "You can't do that." "I already did." Gabriel's smile was sharp. "And now you have exactly 10 seconds to leave my property before I call the police and have you arrested for trespassing and harassment." "This isn't over," David snarled. "Isabel is mine." "She's not a possession," Gabriel said. "She's a person, and she's made her choice. Now leave before I make you leave." The security guards moved closer. David looked at me one last time, with rage and entitlement and the ugly possessiveness that had made me run in the first place. Then he got back in his car and drove away. The moment he was gone, my legs gave out. Gabriel caught me and held me while I shook. "He's gone," he murmured. "He's gone, and he's not coming back." "You paid my family's debt," I said. "That was $200,000. "It was nothing." "It wasn't nothing." He pulled back and looked at me seriously. "Isabel, listen to me. I didn't pay that debt so you'd owe me. I paid it so you'd be free. Free to choose. Free to stay or go without obligation hanging over you." He cupped my face in his hands. "I'm a very wealthy man. $200,000 is a small amount to me. But your freedom? Your ability to make a choice that's actually yours? That's priceless. I needed you to have that," he continued. "Not because of strategy. Not because of business. But because I love you. And you can't truly choose to love someone back if you're trapped by debt and duty." "Why would you do that?" I whispered. Because I love you. The words came out simple. Sure. Because I want you to stay. Not because you have to. Not because we made a deal. But because you choose to. And you can't choose freely if you're weighed down by debt and obligation. Tears streamed down my face. I love you too. Emma tugged on my dress. Are you crying because you're sad or happy? Happy, I managed. Very happy. Matthew looked up at Gabriel. Is Miss Isabel staying forever now? If she wants to, Gabriel said, looking at me. If she'll have us. I dropped to my knees and looked at Emma and Matthew. What do you think? Should I stay? Yes, they shouted together. Even though I'm not a real princess? You're better than a princess, Emma said seriously. You're our Isabel. And that was it. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't running anymore. Wasn't hiding. Wasn't living a temporary life in a borrowed house wearing borrowed clothes. I was home. But life wasn't suddenly perfect just because David was gone and Gabriel had paid off the debt. Real life doesn't work that way. The next few months were complicated. Beautiful, but complicated. First, there was my mother. She called the day after David's visit, and I finally answered. Isabel, she sobbed. Thank God. Are you okay? Where have you been? I'm safe, Mom. I'm staying with someone who's helping me. The debt is paid, she said. Someone paid it. Is that the man you're with? Yes. Silence. Then, I'm so sorry, Isabel. I was desperate. Your father's debts, they were crushing us. I thought marrying David was the only way to save our family. But I should never have, her voice broke. I should never have pushed you toward a man like that. I should have protected you. I know, Mom, I said softly. And I forgive you. But I need time. I need to figure out my own life before I can be part of the family again. I understand. Just, please stay safe. And when you're ready, I'll be here. We hung up. It wasn't perfect forgiveness. It wasn't everything fixed. But it was a start. Second, there was the legal stuff. Gabriel's lawyer helped me officially break the engagement to David. Turns out, running from a wedding because you witnessed abuse is pretty good grounds for ending things. David tried to fight it, but his own reputation started working against him. Other stories came out, other people he'd hurt, other incidents of violence. Within 2 months, David was facing criminal charges. Gabriel swore he had nothing to do with it, but I had my doubts. I also didn't ask too many questions. Third, there was figuring out what I actually wanted to do with my life. I couldn't just be a nanny forever, living in Gabriel's house, taking care of his kids. That wasn't a future. That was just hiding in a different way. What did you study in college? Gabriel asked me one morning over coffee. Early childhood education, I said. I wanted to be a teacher. But after Dad died and the money problems started, I never finished my degree. What if you went back, he suggested. Finished it. Got your teaching certificate. I can't afford that. What if I told you that good nannies make enough to save for tuition? He smiled. And what if I told you that I know the dean at the College of Charleston, and they have a great education program? Gabriel. I'm not offering to pay for it, he interrupted. I'm offering to pay you fairly for the work you're already doing. What you do with that money is your choice. So I enrolled. Started taking classes part-time while still taking care of Emma and Matthew. It was hard, balancing school and work and this strange new life. But it felt right. It felt like building something real. Fourth, there was navigating what Gabriel and I actually were to each other. We'd confessed our feelings. We'd kissed. But then what? I was still technically his employee. Still living in his house. Still in this weird in-between space. One night, about 2 months after David's visit, Gabriel found me studying at the kitchen table after the kids were asleep. We need to talk, he said. My heart sank. Those words never meant anything good. Okay, I said carefully. He sat down across from me. This situation, you working as the nanny while we're also, whatever we are. It's not fair to you. What do you mean? I mean there's a power imbalance. I'm your employer. You live in my house. You depend on me financially. That makes any relationship between us complicated in ways that aren't okay. So what are you saying? I asked. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. I'm saying we need to change things. Make this more equal. He took a breath. I talked to a friend who runs a preschool. They need a teacher's aide. It doesn't pay as much as I'm paying you, but it's a real job. With benefits. And it would give you independence. You want me to leave? The words hurt coming out. No, he said firmly. God, no. I want you to stay. But I want you to stay because you choose to, not because you have nowhere else to go. I want you to have your own income, your own bank account, your own life. And then if you still want to be with me, it's because you actually want to, not because you're dependent on me. I was quiet for a long moment. What about Emma and Matthew? They'll adjust. We'll find a new nanny for when I'm at work. Or maybe I'll work from home more. We'll figure it out. He reached across the table and took my hand. But I need you to have options, Isabel. Real options. Because I don't want you to wake up 5 years from now and realize you stayed with me because you felt trapped. I want you to stay because you chose me. Tears filled my eyes. That's possibly the most respectful thing anyone's ever said to me. He smiled. Is that a yes? It's a yes. So I took the job at the preschool. Started working regular hours, earning my own money, building my own life. I still lived with Gabriel. He insisted I stay in the guest room until I was ready to move into his room, which I appreciated, but now it felt different. More like a choice. Less like necessity. Emma and Matthew struggled with the change at first. They didn't understand why I couldn't be with them all day anymore. Don't you love us anymore? Emma asked one night, her eyes full of tears. I love you so much, I told her, kneeling down to her level. But I also need to have my own work. My own job. Just like your daddy has his work. It doesn't mean I love you less. It means I'm building a life, and you're part of that life. But we want you here all the time, Matthew said. I know. And I'm still here every evening and every weekend. But during the day, I'm going to be teaching other kids. Just like you go to kindergarten and learn from your teacher. I'm going to be someone's teacher too. It took time, but they adjusted. And actually, having some separation made our time together even more special. When I came home from work, they'd rush to tell me about their day. We'd have dinner together as a family. I'd read them bedtime stories. It felt more real somehow. Less like I was just the hired help. Gabriel and I started dating. Actually dating. He'd take me out to dinner. We'd go for walks on the beach. We'd stay up late talking after the kids were asleep. And it felt different than before. Better. Because I knew I was choosing him, and he was choosing me. Not because of circumstances. Not because of necessity. But because we wanted to be together. 6 months after I'd first knocked on his door in a wedding dress, Gabriel took me back to that same door. Remember this? He asked. How could I forget? I showed up bleeding and terrified and desperate. You showed up brave, he corrected. You showed up choosing yourself. Choosing to run towards something better rather than stay in something terrible. I guess so. I'm glad you knocked on my door, he said softly. Best day of my life. Even though I turned your whole life upside down? Especially because of that. He took both my hands. Isabel, these past 6 months have been the best of my life. You've made my kids happy again. You've made me happy again. You've made this house feel like a real home. Gabriel. Wait, let me finish. He took a breath. I know it's only been 6 months. I know that's fast. But I also know what I want. And what I want is you. Not as my employee. Not as my kid's nanny. But as my partner. My equal. The person I build a life with. He pulled a small box out of his pocket, and my heart stopped. I'm not asking you to marry me, he said quickly. Not yet. That would be too fast, and you literally just ran away from a wedding 6 months ago. But I am asking if you'd consider a future with me. With us. As a family. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, beautiful ring. This is a promise ring, he explained. A promise that I'm serious about you. About us. That when you're ready, if you're ready, I want to marry you. But there's no pressure. No timeline. Just a promise that I'm not going anywhere, and I hope you're not either. Tears were streaming down my face. You really thought this through. I've thought about nothing else for months. What about Emma and Matthew? Do they know? I asked them first, he said. Told them I was thinking about asking you to be part of our family forever. You know what Emma said? What? She said, Daddy, she's already part of our family. You're just making it official. He smiled. And Matthew said, does this mean we can call her Mom? I was full on crying now. What did you tell them? I told them they could call you whatever felt right to them. But that if you said yes to this promise, then yes, eventually you might become their mom. If that's what everyone wanted. I looked at the ring. At Gabriel. At this man who'd taken me in when I was desperate, given me space to heal, helped me build my own life, and was now offering me a future without demanding I give up my independence. Yes, I said. Yes to the promise. Yes to a future. Yes to all of it. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me right there on the doorstep where this whole thing had started. Emma and Matthew must have been watching from the window, because the door flew open and they came running out. Did she say yes? Emma shouted. She said yes, Gabriel confirmed. They tackled me in a hug, and we all ended up in a pile on the doorstep, laughing and crying and happy. A year after I'd knocked on Gabriel's door in a wedding dress, we got married in his backyard. It was small. Just close family and friends. Emma and Matthew stood with us. She threw flowers. He carried the rings with the seriousness of someone 3 times his age. My mother came. She cried and apologized again and told me she was proud of me for building my own life. We were working on our relationship. It wasn't perfect, but it was getting better. David didn't come to the wedding. He was in prison, serving time for assault and fraud. Gabriel still swore he'd had nothing to do with the investigation that had put him there. I still didn't entirely believe him. But I also knew that sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. The wedding was nothing like the elaborate disaster I'd run from a year ago. No huge church. No hundreds of guests. No dress I didn't choose myself. Instead, I wore a simple dress I'd picked out. We said our vows under a flower arch Emma and I had designed together. The whole thing took maybe 20 minutes. But it was perfect. When Gabriel and I exchanged vows, I promised to love him and his kids, to make our house a home, to never run from anything again unless he was running with me. He promised to protect me always, to make me laugh, to support my independence even when it made things complicated, and to never make me wear a wedding dress I didn't choose myself. Everyone laughed. Emma and Matthew cheered. And when we kissed, I tasted salt from both our tears. That night, after the guests left and the kids were asleep, Gabriel found me in the garden where everything had started. Happy? He asked. Incredibly. Any regrets? Only one. I turned to face him. I wish I'd knocked on your door sooner. He pulled me close. I'm just glad you knocked at all. We stood there in the garden, surrounded by flowers Emma and I had planted over the past year, under the Charleston sky that had witnessed my escape and my salvation. And I thought about doors. About how knocking on the wrong one can sometimes lead you exactly where you need to be. About how running from one life can lead you straight into another. About how the best love stories start with desperation and end with choice. I knocked on a stranger's door in a wedding dress, and he looked at me like I was either crazy or desperate. I was both. But I was also brave. And lucky. And eventually, I was loved. And that made all the difference. Emma got her teaching degree 2 years later and started working at a local elementary school. Gabriel scaled back his business hours to spend more time with the family. Matthew and Emma, now 7 years old, started calling me Mom, without anyone having to ask them to. And sometimes, late at night, when the house was quiet and Gabriel and I were sitting on that same back patio where we'd first confessed our feelings, I'd think about that girl in the wedding dress. The one who'd been so scared she could barely breathe. The one who'd run barefoot through the streets of Charleston looking for salvation. I'd think about how far she'd come. How much she'd grown. How she'd learned that being saved and saving yourself weren't opposite things. Sometimes they happened at the same time. What are you thinking about? Gabriel would ask. Doors, I'd say. and choices, and how sometimes the bravest thing you can do is run toward the unknown. And sometimes, he'd add, pulling me close, the smartest thing you can do is stop running and choose to stay. He was right. Sometimes the best decision you can make is to stop running, to choose the people who choose you, to build a life instead of just surviving one. I knocked on a stranger's door in a wedding dress, and he looked at me like I was either crazy or desperate. I was both. But behind that door was a man who saw past the crazy and the desperate, who saw someone worth protecting, worth believing in, worth loving. Behind that door were two kids who needed someone to stay, who needed someone to show them that not all adults leave, that love doesn't have to be conditional. Behind that door was a future I never could have imagined when I was standing on those stone steps, bleeding and terrified and alone. Behind that door was home, and all I had to do was knock. 2 years after our wedding, life had settled into a rhythm I never thought possible. But settled didn't mean easy. Emma was 7 now, and starting to ask harder questions. Why did our first mom leave? She asked me one night while I was tucking her in. I'd been dreading this question. Gabriel and I had talked about it, prepared for it, but actually hearing it from her small voice made my heart ache. That's a complicated question, sweetheart, I said, sitting on the edge of her bed. I'm not a baby anymore, she said seriously. You can tell me the truth. I took a deep breath. Your first mom, Rachel, she was struggling with things inside herself. Things that made it hard for her to be a good mom. And sometimes when people are struggling like that, they make choices that hurt the people they love. Not because they want to hurt them, but because they don't know how to be better. Did we do something wrong? Emma's voice was so small it broke my heart. No. I grabbed her hand. No, baby. You and Matthew did nothing wrong. Nothing. What happened with Rachel, that was about her, not about you. You were perfect then, and you're perfect now. Then why didn't she try harder? Emma's eyes filled with tears. If we were perfect, why didn't she want to stay? This was the hard part. The part where I had to be honest without destroying her sense of self-worth. Sometimes people aren't capable of being what we need them to be, I said slowly. It's not about worth. It's not about whether you deserved better. It's about whether they could give you what you needed. And Rachel couldn't. But you know what? That created space for me to come into your life. And I will never leave you. Never. Promise, she whispered. Promise. I kissed her forehead. I chose you, Emma. I chose you and Matthew and your dad. And I choose you every single day. That's not going to change. She was quiet for a moment. Then, can I tell you a secret? Always. Sometimes I'm glad Rachel left. Because if she hadn't, we wouldn't have you. And I like having you as my mom better than I think I would have liked having her. Tears filled my eyes. That's okay to feel, sweetheart. You're allowed to be glad things worked out this way. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you honest. She snuggled into her blankets. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Matthew's questions came differently. He was more direct, more blunt. Our real mom didn't want us, right? He asked one Saturday morning while we were making pancakes. Gabriel tensed. He was at the kitchen table with his coffee, and I saw his knuckles go white around the mug. Your birth mom struggled to be a parent, I said carefully. But I'm your real mom now. The mom who's here. The mom who chooses you every day. But she gave birth to us, Matthew insisted. That makes her our real mom. Being a real mom is about more than giving birth, I said. It's about showing up. Taking care of you. Loving you even when it's hard. Reading you stories and making you dinosaur pancakes and being there when you have nightmares. That's what makes someone a real mom. He thought about this while I flipped his dinosaur-shaped pancake. So you're our real mom because you do all those things? Yes. And Rachel is our birth mom, but she's not really our mom anymore? That's one way to think about it. He nodded, satisfied. Okay. That makes sense. Can I have extra syrup? Gabriel caught my eye across the kitchen and mouthed thank you. I just smiled. But the questions didn't stop there. As the kids got older, they started wondering about my past too. Why did you run away from your wedding? Emma asked one day. She was 8 now, old enough to understand more. We were in the garden, planting new flowers. It had become our tradition. Every spring, Emma and I would design a new section of the garden together. Because the man I was supposed to marry wasn't a good person, I said. And I realized that marrying him would have been a mistake. Was he mean to you? Not to me directly. But I saw him be mean to someone else, and I knew that eventually he would be mean to me too. She was quiet for a moment, digging in the dirt. Were you scared? Terrified. But you ran anyway? Yes. That's brave, she said matter-of-factly. Daddy says being brave means doing the right thing even when you're scared. Your daddy is a smart man. He says you're the bravest person he knows. Because you chose yourself when everyone else wanted you to choose something else. I had to blink back tears. He said that. Yeah. He tells us all the time that we should be like you. That we should always choose what's right for us, even if other people don't like it. I looked at my daughter, because that's what she was now, my daughter in every way that mattered, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude for this strange, beautiful life I'd stumbled into. What happened to the mean man? She asked. He went to prison for hurting people. Good, she said firmly. Mean people should have consequences. I laughed. Yes, they should. I'm glad you ran away from your wedding, Emma said. Because if you hadn't, you wouldn't have found us. And we wouldn't have found you. Me too, baby. Me too. Part 7, Challenges. But it wasn't all beautiful garden moments and profound conversations. There were hard days too. Days when Matthew had meltdowns about homework and screamed that I wasn't his real mom and couldn't tell him what to do. Days when Emma got in trouble at school for fighting with a kid who said she didn't have a real family. Days when Gabriel and I fought about parenting decisions. He thought I was too soft, I thought he was too strict, and we'd end up barely speaking to each other for hours before one of us apologized. Days when I felt like an imposter. Like I was playing house with someone else's family. Like eventually everyone would realize I had no idea what I was doing and ask me to leave. The worst day came about 3 years after our wedding. Rachel came back. Not physically, she didn't show up at the door or anything. But she started calling. Leaving messages. Sending letters. At first, Gabriel just deleted everything without reading it. She doesn't get to waltz back into our lives after abandoning her children, he said. But then one of her letters got delivered to the house instead of his office. And Emma found it. There's a letter here from Rachel Torres, she said, staring at the envelope. That's our birth mom's name, right? Gabriel and I exchanged looks. Yes, Gabriel said carefully. That's her name. What does she want? Emma's voice was small, scared. I don't know, sweetheart. I haven't read it yet. Are you going to? Do you want me to? Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want to know what she says. But I don't want to see her. Is that okay? That's completely okay, I said, kneeling down to her level. You get to decide how much contact you want with her. If you want none, that's fine. If you want to read her letters but not see her, that's fine. If you want to see her someday, that's fine too. This is your choice. What if she wants to take us away? Emma's eyes filled with tears. That's not going to happen, Gabriel said firmly. I have full custody. Legally, she has no claim to you. She gave up her parental rights as part of the divorce. She can't take you anywhere. But what if she tries? Then I'll stop her, he said. And so will Isabel. And so will our lawyers. You are safe, Emma. I promise. The letter, when we finally read it, was full of excuses and apologies and requests to see the kids. She says she's better now, Gabriel said, showing me the letter after the kids were in bed. Says she's been in therapy, gotten help, wants to make amends. What do you think? I asked. I think she's full of shit, he said bluntly. I think she wants to ease her own guilt, and she's willing to disrupt our children's lives to do it. But what if she really has changed? Then she can prove it by respecting our boundaries and the kids' boundaries. If Emma and Matthew want to see her someday, we'll facilitate that. But on their terms, not hers. He wrote back a careful letter explaining that the children were aware of her attempts at contact, but were not interested in seeing her at this time. He said that if and when they changed their minds, he would let her know. Until then, she needed to stop contacting the family. She didn't stop. She started sending gifts. Letters addressed directly to the kids. Messages through mutual acquaintances. It was invasive and stressful and made Emma anxious and Matthew angry. Why can't she just leave us alone? Matthew shouted one day after another package arrived. We don't want her. Why doesn't she get that? Because sometimes people don't accept the consequences of their own actions, Gabriel said. They want to be forgiven without doing the work of earning forgiveness. Well, I'm never forgiving her, Matthew said. Never. That's your choice, I said gently. And whatever you choose, to forgive her or not, to see her or not, to have any relationship with her or not, we'll support you. Eventually, Gabriel had to get the lawyers involved. They sent Rachel a cease and desist letter. Told her that any further contact would be considered harassment and could result in a restraining order. That finally stopped the letters. But it left the kids shaken. Left me questioning whether I was equipped to handle this level of complicated family drama. Left Gabriel angry and protective and more stressed than I'd seen him in years. I'm sorry, he said to me one night after a particularly hard day. I'm sorry you got dragged into all this. This isn't what you signed up for when you knocked on my door. Actually, I said, it kind of is. I signed up for a family. And families are messy and complicated, and sometimes people from the past show up and make things difficult. That doesn't mean it's not worth it. You're sure? He asked. You're sure you don't regret this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He pulled me close and held me tight, and I felt the tension slowly drain from his body. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. A few months after the Rachel situation calmed down, Emma came home from school with an assignment. We have to do a family tree project, she announced. We have to make a poster showing our whole family. My stomach dropped. Family tree projects were notoriously difficult for blended families, adopted kids, foster kids, anyone whose family didn't fit the traditional mold. Okay, I said carefully. How do you want to approach it? She pulled out the assignment sheet. It says we have to show our parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts and uncles. And we can include stepfamily if we want. Do you want to include Rachel? I asked. She thought about it. I don't know. She's technically my birth mom. But you're my real mom. Can I put you both? Absolutely. However you want to set it up is fine. What about Rachel's parents? I've never met them. Then you don't have to include them if you don't want to. We spent the next week working on the project together. Emma decided to make 2 sections, birth family and chosen family. In the birth family section, she put Rachel's name with a note that said birth mother, not involved in my life. In the chosen family section, she put me, Gabriel, Matthew, my mother, Gabriel's parents, and several of our close friends who become like family. Is this okay? She asked, showing me the finished poster. Mrs. Henderson said family is who loves you and takes care of you. So I made it about the people who actually do that. It's perfect, I said, my voice thick with emotion. The day she presented it to her class, I got a call from her teacher. Mrs. Torres, she said, I just wanted to let you know that Emma's presentation was beautiful. Several other kids in class have complicated family situations, and seeing Emma be so honest about hers really helped them feel less alone. Thank you for telling me, I said. I also wanted to say, the way your family has handled this situation is really remarkable. Emma talks about you all the time. It's clear how loved she feels. After I hung up, I cried. Happy tears. Grateful tears. Tears for the scared woman I used to be and the strong woman I'd become. That night, we put Emma's family tree poster on the refrigerator, right next to all the other artwork and school papers and photos that made our house a home. I'm proud of you, I told Emma at bedtime. Why? Because you told your truth. You showed everyone that family isn't just about blood. It's about love and choice and showing up. And you did that beautifully. She smiled. Mrs. Henderson said the same thing. She said I was brave for being honest. You are brave. Just like your mom. You mean just like you? Yes. Just like me. She hugged me tight. I'm glad I got you as my mom. Even if it happened in a weird way. Me too, baby. Me too. If Emma processed everything through words and art, Matthew processed everything through anger. He'd always been the more volatile twin, but around age 9, his anger got worse. He'd explode over small things, a broken toy, homework that was too hard, a game he lost. He'd scream and throw things and say terrible things he didn't mean. I hate you, he screamed at me one day after I told him he couldn't have a sleepover on a school night. You're not even my real mom. You can't tell me what to do. It felt like a punch to the gut, even though I knew he didn't mean it. Even though I knew this was about his trauma, not about me. Gabriel tried to intervene, but Matthew just screamed at him too. This is all your fault. If you hadn't divorced Rachel, we'd have a normal family. But no, you had to ruin everything. Gabriel's face went pale. Matthew, that's not fair. I don't care. Matthew grabbed his backpack and ran to his room, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Gabriel and I stood in the kitchen, stunned. He doesn't mean it, I said quietly. I know. But it still hurts. Should we go talk to him? Not yet. Let him cool down first. An hour later, I knocked on Matthew's door. Go away, he said. I'm not going anywhere, I said through the door. I'm going to sit right here until you're ready to talk. Silence. I sat on the floor outside his door and waited. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. Finally, the door opened. Matthew stood there with red, swollen eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. Come here, I said, opening my arms. He collapsed into them, sobbing. I didn't mean it. I don't hate you. I love you. I'm just so angry all the time and I don't know why. I know, baby. I know. Everything feels too big. Too hard. And sometimes I just want to break things and scream and make everyone as angry as I feel. That's okay, I said, stroking his hair. Being angry is okay. But we need to find better ways for you to express it. Ways that don't hurt yourself or other people. How? Well, how about we talk to Dr. Morrison about it? She's really good at helping people figure out their big feelings. He nodded against my shoulder. And in the meantime, I continued, when you feel that angry feeling coming, I want you to tell me. Say, I'm feeling really angry right now. And then we'll figure out what to do about it together. Maybe you need to run around outside. Maybe you need to hit a pillow. Maybe you just need to cry. But we'll figure it out together. What if I say mean things again? Then we'll talk about it after you calm down. And you'll apologize. And we'll move forward. Because that's what families do. We mess up, we apologize, we try to do better next time. I really am sorry, he said. I didn't mean those things about you not being my real mom. You are my real mom. The only mom I really remember. My heart squeezed. I know, sweetheart. I know. We started taking Matthew to therapy twice a week instead of once. Dr. Morrison diagnosed him with what she called complex trauma response. Essentially, his brain was still trying to process the abandonment and upheaval from years ago, and it was coming out as anger now. She taught him coping strategies. Gave us tools as parents. Helped us understand that his anger wasn't about us. It was about a scared little boy who was afraid everyone he loved would leave. Slowly, over months, Matthew's outbursts became less frequent. Less intense. He started using his words more. Started asking for help before he got to the exploding point. I'm feeling really angry right now, he'd say, and we'd drop everything to help him work through it. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days. Still moments when the anger overwhelmed him. But there were also beautiful moments. Like the day he came to me and said, "Thank you for not giving up on me. Even when I'm mean." Or the day he made me a card that said, "To the best mom ever. Sorry I'm difficult sometimes. I love you." Or the day he told his friend at school, "That's my mom," pointing at me picking him up, and his friend said, "She doesn't look like you," and Matthew just shrugged and said, "So what? She's still my mom." Gabriel had his own struggles during this time. The stress of running his business while managing family challenges was taking a toll. He was working longer hours, sleeping less, snapping at small things. You need to take a break, I told him one night. You're burning out. I can't take a break, he said. The Santiago contract is falling apart, the warehouse in Savannah is having staffing issues, and Marcus just quit. I can't afford to take a break. You can't afford not to, I countered. You're exhausted, Gabriel. You're short-tempered with the kids. You're stressed all the time. Something has to give. I'm fine, he insisted. He wasn't fine. It all came to a head one Saturday morning. Emma asked him to help her with a school project, and he snapped at her. Not now, Emma. Can't you see I'm busy? But Daddy, it's due Monday and... Then you should have started it earlier. I can't drop everything every time you need something. Emma's face crumpled. She ran to her room in tears. Gabriel stared after her, then put his head in his hands. Fuck. I'm turning into my father. I sat down next to him. What do you mean? My father was always too busy for me. Always had work that was more important than his kids. I swore I'd never be like that. And here I am, snapping at my daughter because she wants help with a school project. You're not your father, I said gently. Your father was consistently unavailable. You've been present for your kids their whole lives. You're just going through a hard time right now. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. But it is a reason. And it's a sign that something needs to change. He looked at me. What do I do? You hire more help at work. You delegate. You work from home more. You prioritize your family over your business. Because Gabriel, you can always make more money. You can't get back the time with your kids. He nodded slowly. You're right. You're right, and I hate that you're right, but you're right. He went upstairs and apologized to Emma. Spent the rest of the day helping her with her project. And on Monday, he promoted one of his managers to VP and started working from home 3 days a week. I forgot what it was like to have dinner with my family every night, he said a few weeks later. I forgot how good it feels to be present. Better late than never, I said. Thank you, he said seriously. For calling me out. For not letting me destroy the thing that matters most. That's what partners do. He kissed me. Best decision I ever made, letting you into our lives. Best decision I ever made, knocking on your door. 10 years after I'd knocked on Gabriel's door in a wedding dress, we threw a party. Not for any special occasion, just because we wanted to celebrate. Celebrate our family, our friends, our life. Emma was 15 now, smart and artistic and fiercely independent. She wanted to be a therapist like Dr. Morrison, wanted to help other kids who'd been through trauma. Matthew was 15 too, calmer now but still passionate about everything. He played 3 sports, had a million friends, and talked constantly about wanting to be an architect. My mother came to the party. We'd rebuilt our relationship slowly over the years. It would never be perfect, there was too much hurt in the past for that, but it was good. Honest. Real. Gabriel's parents were there too. They'd welcomed me into the family immediately, treated me like I'd always been there. My friends from work came. Gabriel's business partners. The kids' teachers. Dr. Morrison. Our neighbors. Everyone who'd been part of our journey. Speech. Someone called out. Gabriel stood up, pulling me up with him. 10 years ago, he said, a woman in a wedding dress knocked on my door. She was scared and desperate and had nowhere else to go. And I made a deal with her, 1 month of safety in exchange for help with my kids. Everyone laughed. But here's what I didn't expect, he continued. I didn't expect her to be so good with Emma and Matthew. I didn't expect her to make our house feel like a home again. I didn't expect to fall completely in love with her. He turned to look at me. Isabel, you saved me just as much as I saved you. You made me a better father. A better man. You showed my kids what love really looks like, not conditional, not transactional but chosen. Every single day. Tears were streaming down my face. So here's to Isabel, he raised his glass. The bravest person I know. The best mother my kids could ask for. And the love of my life. Everyone cheered and drank. Then Emma stood up. I want to say something too. The room got quiet. When I was little, Emma said, I didn't understand why my birth mom left. I thought there was something wrong with me. That I was too difficult, too much, too broken. She looked at me. But then Isabel came. And she showed me that it wasn't about me being broken. It was about Rachel not having the capacity to love us the way we needed. And she also showed me that family isn't about biology. It's about showing up. Choosing someone. Loving them even when it's hard. Her voice got thick with emotion. Isabel chose us. Every single day for 10 years, she's chosen us. When we were bratty kids testing her. When we were angry preteens saying terrible things. When we were moody teenagers slamming doors and rolling our eyes. She stayed. She chose us. Matthew stood up next to his sister. Same, he said, which made everyone laugh because it was so perfectly Matthew. But seriously, Isabel, you're the best. Thanks for not giving up on us, even when we gave you every reason to. I was full-on ugly crying now. I love you all so much, I managed to say. You gave me a family when I had nothing. You gave me purpose when I was lost. You gave me love when I thought I'd never find it. So thank you. Thank you for letting me knock on your door. Thank you for letting me stay. Gabriel pulled me close and kissed my forehead while everyone applauded. Later that night, after everyone had left and the kids were asleep, Gabriel and I sat on the back patio, the same place where we'd first admitted our feelings for each other all those years ago. Do you ever think about that day? He asked. The day you showed up at my door? Every day, I said. It was the scariest and best decision I ever made. What do you think would have happened if you'd knocked on a different door? I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe someone else would have helped me. Maybe I would have figured it out on my own. But I wouldn't have this. Wouldn't have you, wouldn't have Emma and Matthew, wouldn't have this beautiful, complicated, perfect life. No regrets. Not a single one. You. My only regret is that it took you so long to find us. He smiled. But I guess everything happens when it's supposed to. I guess so. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the sounds of the Charleston night, crickets chirping, the distant sound of traffic, the rustle of leaves in the breeze. You know what I love most about our story? Gabriel said eventually. What? It started with you saving yourself. Yes, I gave you a place to hide. But you're the one who ran. You're the one who chose to leave a situation that was wrong for you. You're the one who knocked on that door. I just answered it. We saved each other, I said. Yeah, he agreed. We did. He pulled me close, and I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling grateful for every choice that had led me here. Every scary decision, every moment of courage, every time I'd chosen myself and my own happiness over what other people expected. I love you, I said. I love you too, he replied. Always have, always will. And sitting there on that patio, surrounded by the life we'd built together, the family we'd created, the love we'd chosen, the future we were still building, I felt something I'd never felt during that first marriage I'd run from. I felt free. Free to be myself. Free to make mistakes. Free to love and be loved without conditions or expectations. Free to choose, every single day, the life I wanted to live. 10 years ago, I'd knocked on a stranger's door in a wedding dress, desperate and scared and alone. Today, I sat on my own back patio with my husband, in the house where my children slept, in the life I'd built through courage and choice and love. And I wouldn't change a single thing.